Can I make $1 million in 5 hours? That's what we're going to find out today. I'm going to take this failing mechanic shop and attempt to turn it into $1 million business. We have some work to do though. I only have $4K to my name and I need to start stockpiling money so I can go buy my first flip car. And to do that, we have to work on customers' cars. Our first customer brought in a red Luxor Baron. Now this beauty needed new brake pads, a new fuel pump, new filters, and also a new set of tires. Sadly, we picked the wrong tire size, so this thing looks mismatched as hell. But luckily, our customer's blind, so he's never gonna notice. Now the job was pretty straightforward. I was able to knock it out in 10 to 11 minutes. But once I saw how much money I made, I realized I needed to make a change. I made $494 profit. That was chump change compared to the goal that I set. So at this point, I realized that I needed to start taking on bigger projects. So that's exactly what I did. The next car I took on had minor engine and suspension issues. And the car after that, I ended up having to rebuild most of the engine. After finishing these two cars, I was left at $8,000. Just like that, I was an hour into my journey, and I was still $992,000 away. But that didn't matter to me. All that mattered was that I had $8 grand in my pocket. That was enough to finally go out to the junkyard and buy my first car. I was able to find the perfect car. Sitting at almost $3,500, I knew that she was the one. Now all I had to do was flip this car for profit, which wasn't that hard. I put new fenders, doors, windows, and even a brand new interior in that car. She was beautiful. It ended up selling for around $9,600, and it only took me around 10 minutes to flip the car. I ended up doing the same process to multiple cars until I was around 70 grand. So 2 hours into this challenge, I had 70K in the bank account, which is more than enough to rebuild the car from the junkyard. So that's what I did. I went to the junkyard and picked out a car that I thought had potential. I ended up finding an old Mustang for cheap, and me personally, I'm a muscle car guy, so I thought it was the perfect fit. So now it was time to bring the car back to life. I welded up the beat up frame, put new body panels on it, rebuilt the engine with completely new parts, and put some new suspension underneath the thing. Everything in that car was brand new, except the paint job, because I can't afford a paint booth right now. We were looking at about 45K profit on the Mustang flip, which was really good to me at the time. After the flip, I had over $100,000 in the bank account. This meant that I had enough money to do a full restoration on any car that I wanted. So once again, I headed back to the junkyard to find my next project, but this time was different. This time, I went to the junkyard having 0 cars at my yard and came back with 3 new cars. I struck gold. I found 2 high-end sports cars and an F350. All at a good price at the junkyard. This was all good, but we had 2 hours left to get this challenge done. I was still around 800K away from reaching this goal. With 2 hours left, I had to make a hard decision. I either would fully spend the 2 hours rebuilding each and every one of those 3 cars and selling them, hoping that it would net me close to $1 million. Or I turned them all into pigs with makeup, meaning I made the shell of the car look nice, the interior look nice, but the engine and suspension would still be junk. If I went the pig route, I would be able to have all the cars out of there within 30 minutes. And if I did the rebuild route, there's no telling if I would have made it within the time limit. Because of the time crunch, I decided that I was going to do a mixture of both. The Ford and the Audi would be turned into gorgeous pigs, while the Ferrari would get a second chance at life. Out of those 3 cars, I knew that the Ferrari would fetch me the most amount of money. But what I didn't anticipate was the amount of money it would cost to fully restore this thing. In total, it cost me about 86 grand. I went from having over 100K in my bank account to under 50, just like that. I spent $86,000 getting this thing from a rust box back to its former glory days, and it took about 46 minutes to fully complete. But that miscalculation was quickly forgotten about as soon as that 330 grand hit my bank account. I was on cloud 9. I had 90 minutes left, and all I had to do was just flip a few more cars. Seemed simple enough to me. I went to the junkyard, picked up a C8 Corvette, and another Ferrari. Things were looking up for me. I had another 2 supercars in the garage, and all I had to do was just fix them up and sell them. With the C8 Corvette, I ended up just putting new body panels on it and new windows, made it look all pretty, and sold it off. But that's when it hit me. I looked over to the clock and I only had 1 hour left. The C8 Corvette underperformed when it came to selling. I thought it was going to sell for a decent amount, ended up selling for only about 100K. This meant that I needed to start working on that Ferrari ASAP. I knew that fixing up this Ferrari would take around 45 to 50 minutes to fully complete. That would leave me with around 10 to 15 minutes to complete the gap to 1,000,000. I worked as fast as I could. I threw parts at the car as the clock ticked down. Finally, I completed the car, but there would be no celebrating this time. I looked at the clock and watched the final seconds disappear. Somehow I built this car slower than the first one, and my bank account sat at 700k. I failed. I was at 700k, still 300k off of my goal. I closed the garage door behind me, hung my head low, and walked to my new job.